Right, right, right. And is this the same type of technology when they talk about scalar technology or longitudinal EM waves? Is that the same type of transmitter as something like that? Or am I speaking about the same thing when I speak about HARP and that?
Yeah, the HARP is actually the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, but it can be laced with the low frequency waves, and that's where the scalar technology can be applied. And yes, it can be used to alter the mind. It can be used to change migratory patterns of animals. It can be used to cause anxiety and sleeplessness and nightmares, and it was used in both Gulf Wars. And it is being currently used on the ground. They have ground-level units that they use. They now call them non-lethal weaponry, but they do use them, and they are on mobile units, and they're quite effective.
And that's strictly for affecting the mind? Is that right?
It not only affects the mind, it also can affect the physiology of a human being. It can cause uncontrollable diarrhea, cramping, blood clotting. It can be tuned to some pretty nasty effects.
Wow. And that's all because it is emitting the low frequency waves at the same frequency as nature operates, correct?
That's right. And what it does, it greatly amplifies those frequencies and then tunes them to the effect that the combatants want to do. So in essence, they're not actually killing the people, but they're just rendering them helpless as kittens, so they can go in there and without much resistance.
Do they have the technology right now to, say, break the molecular bond? If they aimed this to a certain person, say, across the battlefield, and was able to break the molecular bond in their atoms and basically dissolve the person where they stand, sort of like a Star Trek effect?
Oh, much like the death ray, like Tesla's death ray, how he spoke about that.
I'm sure that they have the capability, but not with these units. These units are tuned to a specific range of frequencies. You don't want to stand in front of them, but they're also pretty safe for the operators. They just drive up in a truck, flip up the parabolic antennas, sight it in, and turn it on, and a few hours later it's done.
The HARP itself, though, we know that they've manipulated the weather. I've also heard that because of the nature of scalar not being, I guess the science behind it, it's very complex, you know, for the average layman like myself, it can be a little overwhelming, but I guess to give the audience, or my listening audience, a background, scalar or longitudinal EM waves actually have to deal with tapping into the energy that's all around us in the vacuum of space-time. Is that right, Doc?
Well, you're talking about the 0 point. There is vacuum fluctuations that exist. They're very small, on the order of a Planck length or a little longer. The man that theorized them, his name was Casimir. Now, the technology to actually prove it didn't exist in those days, but we machined the plates flat enough and put them in a vacuum, and the force does exist. Ions do spontaneously appear between the plates, and the plates do attract one another. Of course, once they attract one another, they're so molecularly flat that they actually fuse, and you can't get them back apart, so it's not effective as an energy source. It is out there. You would need an antenna, you know, the size of Texas to be able to gather any meaningful energy from it, but it is out there.
Because I've heard that when Tesla, right before he had passed away, he had sold the Russians the technology to build a scalar type weapon, or something along the lines of a device that could shield or say, take like a Star Wars, how Reagan envisioned.
A missile shield.
Yes, yeah. Now, do they have that technology now? Do we have that technology now, do you think?
No, neither one of us have that technology.
Okay. Well, that's...
The best we can do is we can strike it with another kinetic weapon, and we can also strike it with lasers. But the lasers are only functional at pretty low altitudes because they do scatter in the air, and they also, when they hit a lot of air or clouds, they dissipate. So they're only effective at low altitudes. They've been very, very successful knocking missiles out of the sky on their way up. But on their way down, they're going so fast, it's difficult to hit them that way. You can use the lasers to aim, though, and that's pretty effective with the kinetic weapons because the missile's basically falling out of the sky with grace at that point, and it's not really steerable, so you can pretty much knock it out of the sky.
Right.
But we do not have an EM umbrella that we can pop up, and neither do they. There are small ones that can stop bullets and stop tank shells, but they can't stop a missile.
Okay, changing up a little bit, Doctor. Let's see. The black hole in the center of our galaxy is approximately 2 million times the mass of our sun, and our galaxy is going to very soon, on a cosmic scale, collide with our sister galaxy Andromeda in about 2 million years. And Andromeda also has a black hole in the center of its galaxy. Most galaxies do. It's what drives them. When the Andromeda galaxy and the Milky Way galaxy do collide and the black holes merge, that should also make the black holes even stronger. And all of these galaxies are headed towards what's called the local group, and they're going to collide, say 12 or 15 different galaxies. When all of those black holes merge into one, and the gravitational pull becomes so great, the universe is about 14 billion years old. Could all of these galaxies merging with their black holes in effect enact a greater and greater pull on those particles out there in the far reaches of the universe and start to bring them back in to cause the galaxy to, or the universe, to collapse upon itself?
There's a lot of theory out there that is going to happen. We now realize that the visible part of the universe is only a small fraction of the mass of the universe. The rest of the universe is not visible to us. We call it dark matter, but that's only because we can't see it. It might actually be very bright matter, and we also can't see it. The idea that galaxies will come together and collide, it has happened. We just recently finished colliding with the Sagittarius galaxy, and many astronomers and cosmologists believe that that's where Earth came from. We are actually inherited from the Sagittarius galaxy. We're not originally from the Milky Way galaxy. Most of the time when bodies come together in space, they do not hit head-on. They sort of come together like ice skaters grabbing hands, and they coalesce, and it causes tremendous rippling of space-time. We do have clusters of galaxies. We have superclusters of galaxies, and they are all revolving around one another. So this coalescing action is occurring, even though, as Hubble said, the galaxy, or the universe is expanding, and the rate of expansion is accelerating. It means to us currently, I think barely a consensus in our science, that there is more energy and more mass coming into our universe from somewhere else, and that's what's making the universe expand. This is not the result of a Big Bang. There's no center to the galaxy for a Big Bang. So the Big Bang theory is quickly losing air, as it were.
Well, that's comforting to hear, because I, for one, never really believed in it. And and I'm also